the dangers of trying to separate art from politics, and that in this novel, they will do anything to advance their artistic agendas. And Henry, that's why she stands up to her, I think. Henry's like, no, I would never do that. Why are you doing that, Gertrude? And Gertrude sort of did. It was like art for art's sake. And whatever the casualties were, ethically or politically, be that as it may. And she can't accept that.
Where are the quiet gays? Where are the quiet gays supposed to go?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing as well as can be expected. Haylie actually sent a little recording because she cannot join us. So I'm going to play that for you if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second.
Hi, Margaret and listeners. This is Haylie, and I am really, really sorry that I'm not there today with you guys. I am currently sitting in a Denver airport. It is 4:30 in the morning, and, well, I flew here yesterday, and I spent all day doing it. And now I'm flying back to LA only to fly back to where I was trying to go. So, life happens, but I know Lauren's going to take good care of you. And I'm going to send her all of the questions that I wanted to ask you, Margaret, so that I can still know the answers. Anyway, I hope you two have a really good time today, and I can't wait to listen. Bye.
Okay.
Yes, she is supposed to be in a wedding today in Montana, and her flight was yesterday. And I got a text at like 9 o'clock being like, I've been rebooked 17 times. And she literally was in Denver, got flown back to LAX, is now flying. She's like, I don't even know what to do. So I'm like, okay, we'll just get some good concealer for the
Is she going to make the wedding?
Honestly, I don't know. I sure hope so. Maybe she'll make the after party. I don't know.
That's terrible.
I know. I mean, the flight system right now is everything's crashing.
That's right.
And now oh my God, it has been what a few couple months. How have you been?
What do you mean? Why has it been a couple of months? Something going on?
No, I just mean like the last time we talked to you, the election was upcoming and all of that. And, I live in Simi Valley, which is very close to Camarillo, which just had those like massive raids. I don't know if you saw, and I was like watching the news all day. It's just, and now, you got all the things crashing, everything.
You guys had one thing after another. You had the fires, then you had the floods. You've got the immigration things. It's not right. It's terrible.
Yeah, California is really getting hit kind of hard, and then it's hard to be, in a privileged position where it's not actually impacting my everyday life like it is so many other people, and to like be like, okay, so like, what do we do? But
yeah.
How have you been?
Good. I'm up in the mountains, so that makes me happy.
Oh, I started a garden. That's my coping mechanism.
Good. Flowers, vegetables, both?
Yeah, me and my girlfriend, we made a couple flower beds out there. We've got cucumbers. We just did our first cucumber harvest.
Good.
They're so good. I had no idea that they tasted different. We've got cucumbers, we've got cherry tomatoes, zucchini, tons of marigolds because my girlfriend wants to grow them for Dia de los Muertos in November. So we've got all those growing. I just got some yellow ones. So it's been a nice escape for me, just like this podcast is for me. We all have to have our coping mechanisms. Yeah. Whereabouts in the mountain are you?
I'm in the Catskills.
Which is?
It's like, I guess it's New York's premier mountain range, but compared to what you have out there and what I had in Idaho, they're like little.
They're teeny tiny, yeah.
Yeah, but they're beautiful. They're like completely green, like almost like a tropical forest. I mean, it's really beautiful.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to go to the lake. I actually just went to Japan, which was a nice escape. So that was a lot of fun.
You've been before?
No, I had never been.
Why Japan?
Well, my girlfriend actually booked us a trip for my birthday in January. So we it finally came to, and she's always wanted to go to Japan. And I was like, I would absolutely go to Japan.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we hit like all the main tourist places. We went to Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto. Next time I go, I think I want to do like the non-touristy spots, like, and do like all the onsens. And we couldn't do Mount Fuji because of the time of year, but yeah, I think I'm more apt to doing the non-touristy things. I was like,
You mean like the country?
yeah, more the
Yeah.
countryside.
Yeah.
I think that's more up my alley because wow, as organized as Japan is, which is incredible
Yeah.
and clean and beautiful, there were just so many people.
Yeah.
And my ADHD overstimulated self was just like, whoo, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. It's much more packed. Yeah.
Yeah, have you been?
No, but I know that part of the world is it's packed.
Yeah, but what's amazing is like the subway systems, like you just see what like if a government invests in its infrastructure and its metro and everything, how well it can be done because the trains are like the exact second they say they're coming, they're there. Everyone gets on, everyone gets off. It was really
Well, and there's an ethic. There's a social ethic. We don't have that.
right. No, not at all. Yeah, we talked about that. It's like from a very young age, they're taught like the sense of order and politeness and caring about community and things like that. Like you're, one of many versus like the one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was very interesting to, I don't want to say culture shock because I wasn't shocked by any of it. I feel like we fit in like very easily, but I also think we're both just culturally aware as well. So, it was a lot of fun. I just want to travel now to get out of here anytime I can.
I know.
So, but okay, American in Paris. We loved visiting Henri again.
I loved your episode.
Yeah. Haylie has the most pressing question for you, which I'm sure you heard in the podcast. So we'll get to it. She also sent me 3 pages of questions for you, which is something I absolutely love about Haylie, is she writes everything down for me. Yeah. So did you write this book before or after Crave?
Many years before. I wrote it 25 years ago.
Okay. I thought that's what you
actually said. More than 25. It was published 25 years ago. I wrote it more than 25 years ago.
Wow. That's incredible. Yeah, I would have. It's interesting because I feel like now the phenomenon is to like write a best-selling book and then go back and write the prequel. And what are your thoughts on that since you did not do it that way?
So when I wrote this, I still feel this way. It's almost like the preeminent lesbian community of all time was Paris.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start with that because I think when I wrote it, people didn't know that much about it. Maybe they do now. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that our history was sort of lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
So that had to come first because Craze, as you know, is really not is not even close to exclusively lesbian.
Right, right.
Yeah. So, she moves into, I mean, you guys said in your episode, which I thought was really interesting, and I think that there is a way in which she was almost in the closet in Paris. You guys said you remember that.
Yeah.
So it's not like, it's a natural progression in a way for her, but I certainly wouldn't have started with the more queer as opposed to exclusively lesbian thing.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. One of our pressing questions, because Haylie and I both didn't know a lot about this group of women before reading your book. And obviously throughout reading it, we were like, Wikipedia-ing and everything, all these characters, but how historically based were your interpretations of these women's personalities? Like what was your process in researching them? How did you come about writing them and keeping like fact versus fiction straight?
So I can recommend some books if people are interested that I obviously used, but not just in conjunction with writing the book, because when I got my PhD at Columbia, my dissertation was on androgyny.
Yeah.
So all of these people and all of that research was literally in my head.
Yeah.
And so right when I finished my dissertation, I said, okay, I'm not going to lose it. Let me just write it right away. Yeah. So it was really from the perspective of taking that academic stuff and translating it into fiction. And then most of it is, I mean, we could talk about it, but most of it is based on my understanding of who these people really are, with one exception, which you guys addressed, which is that Hadley Hemingway.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I did it, but Hadley Hemingway was not gay.
Okay.
But everything else
Way
is
more
kind of
fun.
like,
It's way more
well,
fun than
it's
you made
more
for
fun.
gay.
Yeah, it's more fun. And also, Hemingway's last book is called The Garden of Eden.
Okay.
And it's published posthumously. And basically, he wrote about his sex life.
Yeah.
And he had, you probably know this, he had 4 wives.
Mm-hmm.
They all cut their hair like his. And they all played sex games in which, like, literally in the Garden of Eden, his wife like straps it on.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that, I mean, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump from strapping it on, right?
Yeah.
To having her be gay.
Maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Yeah, it's funny because I think I mentioned in the podcast when I was like 11, I went on a deep dive of Ernest Hemingway.
Yes.
And I was like, this is quite interesting for my 11-year-old brain to be reading about.
I'm crazy about Hemingway.
Yeah. I mean, I read In Love and War or not In Love and War, that's the movie, but what's the book he wrote based on that? I read it when I was like 13, so I have no recollection fully of it. But yeah, it was so fun to like see characters that I have read about and being like, oh, like in fiction, but not fiction. It was so much fun for me.
You mean, and that's the one where is it For Whom the Bell Tolls, that one?
Yeah, where with the World War I nurse that he falls in love with.
Yeah, because that woman that he ends up like running around with, she's really androgynous too.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Which they did not. They made Sandra Bullock very girly in that.
Right.
But
right.
They can't put androgyny on the screen. People will
be
scared. But who was your favorite person to write in this book? Like, I know obviously you have a very deep connection with Henri, but you got to write all of your favorite lesbians from Paris. So who was the most fun? I feel like I would have most fun writing Natalie, but I want to hear who you really enjoyed writing.
So I have a thing for Gertrude Stein.
Okay. Fair.
And it's partly literary because, as you know, I mean, Gertrude Stein writes crazy stuff, but it's kind of like philosophical, it's almost like a child writing philosophy on purpose, childlike. And so my connection with her is, a deep sort of literary philosophical connection. I mean, having said that, I mean, you guys really laid out this kind of monogamy, polyamorous thing, And so having said that, there's things about Gertrude Stein that are extremely problematic. And so then I say, okay, I understand the attraction to Natalie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was my big thing, was like, it seemed like you were doing big parallels between the two different circles, right? Did you do that? I mean, I'm assuming you did that on purpose, but again, this was 25 years ago when you wrote it, and how aptly it speaks to today, and how, our community looks at monogamy versus polyamory. And do you have thoughts on that ongoing? It feels like it's a not argument, but I always feel like people that are very stern in one camp and very stern in the other camp, they seem like they're fighting of which one's better. And in my opinion, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, if you like monogamy, that's great. If you like polyamory, that's great. But how did, in the book, you see Henri kind of struggle with it as well?
Yeah, I mean, you guys, I was very interested. I told my friends that you guys both, to me, interestingly, came down personally on the monogamy thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was, I mean, most of the young people that I hang out with, which is a lot.
Yeah.
They're like pretty evangelically polyamorous. So I think that when you say that, I agree with you. I don't know why people are so dogmatic about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
This is pre-gay marriage, so as you know, so it's like it was a very different political time. But having said that, the issues are still the same issues. It's kind of like the politics of desire, and there's a lot at stake.
Right.
But you can't get dogmatic about desire. I mean, that's like a contradiction.
100%. Yeah. And that's so interesting to hear that, like, the younger people that you hang out with are very dogmatically polyamorous. I think for me, it's a practical thing. Like, well, first of all, I'm also a Capricorn. So I'm like the dad of the zodiac. So I'm very like, these are the rules. This is how it is. But at the same time, for me, practically, like, I know I'm also a very emotional person, and I just wouldn't be able to emotionally handle, like, maybe that's like it could be an immaturity in my emotionalness, who knows, but I wouldn't be able to emotionally handle being with other, like, having to navigate more than one person's emotions. That just seems like a nightmare to me, to be honest. And it could be my upbringing, it could be the way society has, built into our fabric of monogamy. Like, it could be that, it could be a million things. I just agree with you. I just don't see the reason to be dogmatic about it and fight about it. It doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, I think that I don't think we understand, if there's an intrinsic inclination
Yeah.
to be one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether what you just said is because of like conditioning. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But when I look at like one of the examples of the people that I have in mind, so they're married, and um, one of them is really polyamorous and the other one isn't. And so the one that is sort of like talking about their partner, right? Their
Yeah.
other partners in front of the person.
Yeah.
I watch the non-polyamorous person's face, right? No registering whatsoever. And so I think like I respect that if that's true, but I also don't know if there's any masking going on.
Right.
I have no idea.
Yeah. And to me, I guess I have done away with my masks in the,
Yeah,
growth and maturity that I've done in the work on myself, that I wouldn't be able to mask it. If there was an issue, there's
yeah.
no way, you know?
Right, but I mean, is it true that like I just don't know? It's look, anybody can do whatever they want. I don't care.
Yeah.
But like, is it really true that nothing is registering for that person? I find that hard to believe, but I'm perfectly happy to believe it if they tell me that.
Right.
But to be honest with you, that conversation has never happened. I've never had a conversation in depth with somebody to where they really clarified to me whether there was nothing happening or if they have decided that that's really the best way to live and so they have to cope with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So I'm a big Sister Wives fan,
Yeah.
which is polygamy, not necessarily polyamory.
Yeah.
And I have followed them for their 19 seasons that they've been on. It's like one of my hyperfixations and has been for years. I listen to multiple podcasts every week about each episode. And that's one thing, that what you just mentioned of, this is the best way to live, so I have to cope with it and it's going to make me a better person. That has been the through line of the women in this relationship of, yes, there's jealousy, but that makes me a better person. But then you see now on the flip side how they're like, I wouldn't do this again. It was a nightmare. Like 3 of them have left. And they're like, I didn't have to put myself through this. So it's very interesting to see the progression of the thought processes of these women. And it almost feels like a maturation to get to the point of like, oh, I didn't actually have to put myself through something to cope with. And again, to caveat, like, if you want to do that, that's fine. And I hope you're happy. But again, I don't know if there's an intrinsic pull one way or the other. I remember reading, it was an evolutionary biologist who said that like humans are serial monogamists. And that made more sense to me. But obviously, they're talking about heterosexuality in this, of like a man and a woman get together, they procreate, they get them to about 9, 10, 11, where the young would be sufficient on their own. And then they leave and they create seed elsewhere. Right. And to me, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense evolutionarily. But also, I feel like that takes out the human component of emotion.
Yeah, I mean, Jenny Ophel wrote Department of Speculation, and at one point she literally says that in that novel where she's trying to figure out why her husband had an affair.
Yeah.
she does it. It's very funny when, but it literally is that. But I guess so that's biological, as it were.
Right.
I think I guess where I come down is that going back to these people that I'm talking about,
Yeah.
they have both. So maybe that's what I think. I think they're married and they really love each other. So they have the side of it that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's why I guess I think that especially not to get dogmatic, because they have what we're talking about, but they can add on top of that this freedom. And I think maybe that's the story, right? That if you can manage it the way they do, maybe that's ideal. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't have to be ideal. You do what you do.
Right.
But I can see how, I guess what I'm saying is I can see how apropos the book, that these are complementary things. And yet, like Gertrude and Natalie, as you know, are really judgmental of each other's, desires.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say, going back to Natalie and Gertrude. And I think we mentioned in the podcast is there's just pros and cons to both things, right? You have the freedom of Natalie Barney and her salon and, the desire that flows and everyone's connecting and things like that. But then you also see that human component come in with the jealousy and the, how could you do this? And, the infighting, where then you see Alice being so guarding of that not happening with her and Gertrude because of the pain that it causes. And to me, I think I'm more in line with the guarding of like, I love what we have and this is sacred. And I don't feel like we need the added, I don't want to call it drama, but it is drama, of inserting other people and bringing it in because we just don't know how we're going to react and how we're going to feel. And uncertainty, I think for me, is something I just don't appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it plays out what you're saying in real life. I mean, that, Natalie has all these lovers and they were deeply hurt. Right. She was the only one that went about blithely, free, no sort of qualms about it whatsoever. But literally every single one of it's almost like she had, hurt in her wake.
Yeah, absolutely.
For real. Yeah.
Yeah. She left a trail of hurt amongst all these women who are trying their best to like understand. And I do think it is a little bit of intrinsic human nature to not understand or to not feel like, why am I not enough? Right. And I think that's where Alice comes in and with Gertrude and they're like, no, we're good. Like we're enough. We don't need this. And that's where the divide comes between the two salons. So,
yeah. And also like, yeah. And if you think about the different, this is what gets into craze and all the sort of, all the men in craze and the obvious, almost cliche difference between lesbians and gay men and the polyamory in their communities versus ours. I mean, people make jokes about that.
Right. Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay, getting back to the evolutionary biology thing, why is it that there's such a discrepancy between gay men and women?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've thought about that too, because I just feel like our cultures, the gay men culture and then the gay women culture, like they're so different, and I don't want to use the word, I mean, I'll use the word promiscuity in like the actual definition without the negative connotation.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. The promiscuity in the male culture. I'm wondering though, if that's like socially conditioned because men are allowed to be promiscuous and women historically have not been allowed to be promiscuous. Right. So is that just a holdover of social conditioning in women to be like, oh, well, we're going to still, yes, we're operating outside of a binary, but we're going to still uphold some of those social conditionings because this is how we've been safe. I don't know.
I mean, I like to avoid gender essentialism, the born that way thing at all costs.
Yeah.
And it's precisely because of this historical moment, because Nightwood is the novel, the three of us might talk about this sometime, that Juna wrote about Thelma Wood. And Thelma is a character, as you know, in American in Paris.
Yeah.
So the beginning of Nightwood is this veiled cast of characters who are going to end up in the gas chamber, whether it's because they're disabled or African American or Black if they're not American, gay, whatever it is. And so I'm allergic to the Born That Way theory because of my immersion in the 20s, which turned into the 40s, which turned into the gas chamber.
Yeah.
So like I would have to say, going back to the men and women thing and the difference of their desires, the contours of their desires, is that I'm going to have to say it's conditioning.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, I think was it the hierarchy of needs chart, right? Like safety is before even like nutrition. And again, you can't fight with thousands of years of social conditioning on women to be like, don't be promiscuous, you will be murdered, So, I mean, I don't know if there's any studies on it. Like, I would love to read that type of scientific paperwork on it, but I don't even know how you would study it.
Yeah.
I do want to hit on, you were talking about androgyny as like your PhD area of study. One of Haylie's question has this big theme of clothing in American in Paris. And she said, how women express themselves versus how they feel versus how they're perceived and how that plays out within how they dress. Can you talk a little bit about how you wrote that with some of the characters or even just your thoughts on it? Because I think we touched on it a little bit because I was saying like how Henri was like so femme and then more into androgynous throughout the book and like how that worked out. But what was your thought process on bringing in the clothing?
So, Judith Butler, she says gender is performance. And so then everybody got on the bandwagon. She then denied that she meant that, but I think she did mean it.
Yeah.
So in the 20s, getting back to this essentialist thing, I mean, there's a lot of parallels between the 1925, 2025, which are written about in this book and in the other book. And one of the things that's not parallel, I think, although you may disagree, is that in the 20s, their androgyny was performative. And so Juna 1 minute can be, you've seen pictures of her, she can be masculine 1 minute and femme the next.
Yeah.
More so. And there's no sense that that the performance is tied to some kind of intrinsic quality. And one of the reasons for that presumably is that preceding this period was the period of these sexologists and Gertrude Stein. I mean, we're going to have to sort of tease this out later maybe, but Gertrude Stein sort of believed them, like Edward Carpenter and Krafft Ebing. And she believed them insofar as she was more of an essentialist. That's one reason why she's such a guy.
Yeah.
Right. So she feeds into much more so these, previous generations' gender essentialism because she's very tied to the idea that she's masculine. And the reason that she's tied to it is that she thinks that genius is masculine, which is almost like a Jungian thing. It's very, there's all this stuff going on in the background, like with the sexologists and with the early psychologists.
Right.
Right. So she's the outlier because the rest of them are just performing their gender. And so when you said the perceived part of it, it's like they're controlling, I guess, their perception by performing masculinity, femininity, androgyny, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like we still do that. I mean, I do agree with the whole gender is performative aspect of things. I mean, do I dress in a femme way because that's how I want to, or is that just because it's easier to go through the world in that state, right? I think and we talked about this last time. I'm like, that is one of the reasons I am attracted to more masculine women is because they off those chains of society. And I'm just like, that is so attractive to me that you don't care, so I remember that.
Right. But I loved when you said that. I thought that was, profound actually.
Oh, wow.
And at the same, I don't know whether like those people that you're talking about, I think many people now have an essentialist understanding of themselves. We're moving away from that.
Yeah.
But there was that period, where even, even the way that transgender was understood was more essentialist than it is now, right?
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. And I mean, like my girlfriend is masculine and she's also so feminine in so many ways. And that's literally why I'm a lesbian, is because I love women, whether they're masculine, feminine, whatever. Like I love women. But to her, it's to me, it doesn't feel like an essentialism thing. It's very much just like, this is just me. This is just who I am. This is how I like to be. You know what I mean? And I love that about her. She's not going to change for anyone, and if she wants to grow her hair out, grow your hair out. Like, I don't care, just it goes away from like performative. It does not seem performative to me. It seems intrinsic to who she is.
Her what is her femaleness, as it were?
Right. Yeah. This is how and she's like, no, I've never not felt like a woman.
Right. Right.
This has always just been me. And this is how I like to move through the world. And I love that.
You guys, did you do Stone Butch Blues?
We did.
So when you did it, can you compare that to what you just said about your girlfriend? Do you think that the Stone Butch Blues, I forget her name, do you think that she understands herself that way?
That is how I would.
I mean, I should say in this case, either they or he, because it's not going to be right.
Yeah, no, honestly, yeah, I do think that's.
You do?
Yes, because to her, it just, and I have to be, so if, I don't know if you listened to that episode or not, but I actually could not read the whole book. I have very close ties to transness in my family and my community. And it was just, I couldn't get through the first 60 pages without just absolutely losing it. So Haylie read it, and the way we did that episode was her telling me about it and me asking her questions about it. So it's one of our like highest viewed episodes. Right. But to me, in what I heard from Haylie and from the little bits that I did read, it did seem like just the intrinsic way she wanted to move through the world. And she did not understand why that was so wrong. Because like, it's not wrong to move through the world in the way, like, it's almost like they don't think about gender, right? It's just, this is how.
Right. That's true androgyny.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Right. This is not a gender performance thing.
Right, absolutely.
This is how I exist. And why do I have to be classified? Why do I have to put a label on it? Right. Like my girlfriend hates labels. She's like, I fucking hate them. And I'm like, I'm constantly like, yeah, labels don't matter, but they help categorize and they help understanding. It's language. It's, it's these types of things. Right. But I feel like to people who are more androgynous or people who identify as women and present more masculinely, to them, it's not so systemized. It's just existence, from what I have gathered.
Yes, I think that's right. Another friend of mine she works at the Lesbian Her Story Archives in Brooklyn.
Oh, cool.
And yeah. And therefore she's like adamantly so.
Right.
Unlike all the other people, right? Basically in this group.
Yeah.
And they're constantly trying, apropos Stone Butch Blues, people are constantly telling her she's trans. And so, given what you just said, like when we started out saying, you said clothing and the perception, and it's about androgyny. In the 1920s, it was all about androgyny. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And androgyny was like a big deal until the 1970s. And then it went out of fashion, and it was criticized because it was seen as being it was like almost asexual.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't sufficiently categorized. And so I still think we're in that problem. It's a problem for me because, like, for example, in Craze, that Crystal is a she person. But Crystal we would have to debate it out. We're not talking about that. But, is Crystal a transvestite or is Crystal transgender? Coming back to American in Paris, in Nightwood, the Gina Barnes novel that is in the background here, there's a character called Matthew O'Connor. And at one point, for example, he says he wishes he has a womb. And and there's many passages like this. Is it a manifestation of his campiness? Because he's very campy.
Yes.
Or is it actually, as it were, transgender desire?
Yeah.
So it's always been, there's always this question. But the question was less pressing in the 1920s.
Right.
Because they freed it up. They weren't like trying to sort of overdetermine things, if I could speak in their language. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need an answer.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. And man, I do just find it so interesting because again, like you're saying about your friend who works at the archives, like she's dogmatically a she. Like same with my girlfriend. She's a she.
Yeah.
She, her, like that. There's no question there. I think it's society that has a problem with that. I think it's the perception, right?
Right. So it's not her problem.
It's not her problem.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
Right. She's just a she, big deal.
Exactly. It doesn't matter to her. She's like,
not the dogmatic one. They're the dogmatic one, as it were.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I love.
Why do people? I love the way you said it. Why do people need an answer now? And they didn't then. Okay, we know that. But why do people need an answer now?
I think it's the uncertainty. I think people have a hard time holding uncertainty without answers. I know I'm like that. I know I'm very like a black and white thinker a lot of the times. And I'm like, but I have to know. And it's taken me a long time to understand that like two things can exist that are contradictory. It doesn't make sense to me, but I can live in the uncertainty of that. And I think the first time, if we want to get like real personal here, that I experienced that was when I was leaving my faith. And I actually met with my librarian at my Bible college to talk with her about it. And because I was like, I'm gay, like that in my dogmatic evangelical mind frame, like I'm going to hell. And, she was just like, well, what if that's like not true? And, I was like, but that doesn't make sense. Like this is that.
Yeah.
It's this or that. But she's like, but it doesn't have to be. Right. And that was when I was 20, 21 years old. And her saying to me, like, just because these two things contradict doesn't mean either of them are less true. Right. And for me, that was mind blowing to me. And that was the start of me starting to realize, like, okay, you don't have to have the answers to everything. You don't have to know everything. And I think as our, intellectual society exists right now, having the answers makes you right or makes you wrong. And we're in such a polarized climate. I mean, we can talk politics is the majority of what we're talking about in the polarized climate of right and wrong. If you don't have an answer, then you're wrong. And I think that plays into every social question we have, right? Like, oh, you don't know if that's right or wrong, so why are you speaking on it? And I think that goes down into gender as well. And it just plays out into every facet of like, well, why don't you know? If you don't know, you are wrong.
Yeah.
Which is sad because again, a lot of the people who are being questioned on this, it's not their problem.
Yeah.
They're not the ones looking for the answer. Your society is looking for the answer for them to explain them because they want to have an explanation.
Right.
And it's like, well, can't I just like exist?
Yeah.
Why does it matter to you? That was a lot. Sorry.
No, I think that's right. I think it's been explained to me, and then I believe it, that it happened in addition. I mean, it's like categories, science, etc. But this is the part that was explained to me.
Yeah.
That it was a strategy to insist upon kind of like you're saying, gender certainty.
Yeah.
Because it was a strategy to get rights.
Right.
You had, in other words, to say that you were born that way, just to put it in a phrase, was a way of saying, there's nothing wrong with me. This is the way I was born. Therefore, I deserve rights.
Mm-hmm.
But the danger was, and this is what happened in my view, and I believe what they said, this explanatory background.
Yeah.
That then we actually believed it. Right. And I think that we could have used it as a strategy without believing it.
Interesting. I've never thought about it in that way.
I didn't either. I mean, it was explained to me. And that's why I say that, and by the same group of people that I'm talking about, they're in their 20s
Right.
and early 30s. That's why I say that we are really moving in the right direction now, because this is a very well thought out, clearly articulated arguments coming from really young people. And when I was still teaching at Barnard, that was not happening.
Yeah.
So this is new.
Yeah, I just worry about how, like, the perception of it, and I like whether people are going to, because it's so well articulated but coming from such young people, whether or not the older people can get behind it.
Right.
Right. And it's like when there's division between the same camps, like obviously that's a strategy of the other side, is to sow division between people who already agree. I just worry that it's going to get lost.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, why in this community in Paris, which is almost literally exclusively lesbian.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's a few gay men in Stein's circle.
Right.
But I think that this gets us into contemporary turf thing.
Mm-hmm.
And unless and until, I don't know how you feel about this, but unless and until turfs are not seen as this unequivocal enemy, in other words, that I think if you talk to 75% of turfs, so-called turfs, they don't really think what people say they think.
Really?
I don't think so. I think they're being scapegoated because they're trying to talk about gender in a non-doctrinaire way. I think that you said it at the beginning, the right and wrong thing.
Yeah.
They're not towing the party line. And so this really scares me, because lesbians are kind of the bad guy right now.
Right.
And that's dangerous. Like you say, there's this internecine warfare in the gay community. We can't afford that.
I know. Yeah.
And why is it conveniently as usual that the ones that are being like excluded are women? Like flat out, hi, I'm a she, women, aka turfs. And also to say that, just to add a layer to it, and this would never happen in the 20s, in my opinion, the 1920s. To say that, I don't know how you feel about this, lesbians are cisgender, it seems to me to be ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. Especially as like a blanket statement. I don't think that's true at all, because you have trans lesbians, you have, well, that's like obviously the biggest one that you can say that are not cisgender. But what, to me, yeah, it goes into like what even is cisgender at its core.
Right.
Because is that not defined by like heterosexuality and like male femaleness?
Yes.
It doesn't make actual sense if you break it down. But I mean, I would love to talk about this turf thing, because again, like I said, I have like a very strong connection to like the trans community.
Yeah.
And to me, what I've known about turfs is like trans exclusionary. And they are saying that like, trans women are not women. Do I have that wrong?
I think that that's what is said, but the 75% that I'm talking about is what they are, is they're feminists, they're lesbian feminists.
Right.
And it's a second wave feminist thing. So I'm not denying what you said. What I'm saying is that what they're doing is that they're talking about this, they're talking about the history of women's marginalization.
Yeah.
They're trying to add it, and I'm going to use the word back on purpose. They're trying to add it back into the mix. Mm-hmm. If it's added back into the mix, then that 75% is not exclusionary.
Interesting. Very interesting.
There is the 25% that is just like flat out assholes, right?
Yeah, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because I mean, I think when you say turf, that's who comes to mind. Obviously. Yes. And she's so loud about it, and she's so evil about it. And it I don't even like talking about her because she is very radical in her beliefs. But yeah, I would love to hear more about and research more about that, what that 75% that you're talking about, because yeah, and even just the name, maybe the name doesn't even necessarily fit what their what their ideals are, you know? Because
It's like saying, let's use an analogy. It goes back to the beginning of our discussion.
yeah,
So another thing that happened, so, when I wrote the book, I said it was pre-gay marriage.
right,
And as you know, of late, there are lots of gay queer people who think that marriage is a conservative institution and it's a problem.
right,
Okay?
right.
It's not a direct analogy, but that's a very unnuanced understanding of what gay marriage is.
Yeah, it's so
Right.
nuanced. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, yes, I hear what you're saying. However,
Right.
we do not exist in a vacuum of semantics, right? Like gay marriage represents equality, equal rights. It represents all these things. And yes, you can say it's an archaic form of an institution, but we still have it and we still operate with it here. So yeah, the nuance is completely lacking in that argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why I'm trying to use the analogy is that the warfare, and that's how we got here, because I think you were sort of saying, my words were that we can't afford this kind of civil war.
Right.
Um, is much of it is due to these pigeonholing people and this being allergic to nuanced discussions of who we are, and in apropos of the book, the politics of desire. Well, what are the politics of desire? Not just about monogamy and the polyamorous, Natalie Barney salon, but that what does desire do? How disruptive it is? Is it what is the most disruptive desire?
Mm-hmm.
And this is very important, right? Because again, back to the 20s, the 1920s, and then the 30s. It's on the verge of the 30s. She wrote Nightwood, Juna Barnes in 1936. It was published because there all of this. This is like proto-fascist stuff. It's all starting to move towards this really dangerous outcome. So there's a lot at stake.
Yeah. I feel like we're in the exact same boat now. I think we talked about it last time we had you on was the 100-year cycle, right? And where are we? We're in the 20s, which the 30s, you see the rise of fascism, and then 40s, you get the gas chambers, right? And you can see it. You can see it here in this country. And God, I hope we don't go down that path, but we're walking it right now. We're like on, level 4 or 5 of the fascist manifesto, basically. But yeah, I feel like we're having that same conversation right now.
Yeah.
And it's truly frightening, especially when people aren't acknowledging that that's where we're at.
Right.
Yeah. Haylie would love if you would tell us your perspective on Alice Toklas. She wrote me a couple little notes that I'll read to you. She said, so she wants to know about her role, like what you think about and how you wrote about Alice, her role with the wives at the salon, her relationship to Gertrude, how she was her editor and the keeper of Gertrude, and then the jealousy aspect. Like, can you speak on this? I know Haylie wants to get her questions answered.
Yeah, because you guys talked a little bit about Alice in terms of whether she is, how much is she slotted into the traditional position of wife?
Right.
And I had one of my mentors at Columbia was Carolyn Halbrin, who was a very important American feminist and academic. And she actually wrote on androgyny, which is one reason I got interested in it. And she and I would argue about, she loved Virginia Woolf, and so do I.
Yeah.
And she would say that the Woolf marriage was in service of, that it was a good marriage, that it was in service of Virginia Woolf's art, but that it was also a kind of equal good marriage.
Yeah.
And she just went after Alice and Gertrude because she thought it was really uneven, and that Gertrude was sort of lording herself over Alice.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true at all. I mean, you guys said that.
Yeah, I think Alice was kind of happy with her role.
And she had a lot of power.
I think she wore the pants. Like
Right.
if Alice said no, it meant no. And to me, I think that's like more equality. I mean, when you're looking at marriage in terms of like two women, there isn't that gendered role necessarily. There definitely can be. You can definitely still kind of slot into the societal forms of wife. I don't want to say husband, but the masculine, the feminine, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what words to use in this because they just really don't apply when I feel like two women are married. But again, I think it goes back to that, like, if that's how you want your marriage to be and you both consent to that being how it is, why is that anybody else's business?
Yeah, I mean, we could say that about going back to your college days and what you said about that.
Yeah.
We could say that about, you know, MAGA wives.
I was going to ask you about trad wives
So,
with this whole Alice discussion.
like traditional, MAGA movement wives. I mean, so I want to make the distinction saying that they can choose to whatever they want. I mean, I do mean that, but
Yeah.
I'm like not thrilled about, certain, paradigms of marriage.
Yeah.
However, that's because I would be suspicious as to whether or not that wife had as much power as her husband.
Or the agency to make the choice to
Right.
be
That's
that
right.
type of wife.
But that wasn't the deal with Alice.
No.
Yeah. And, she was the editor and she ran the press and she wasn't just the gatekeeper. She had say over the business of Gertrude Stein.
Yeah, it's almost the perception versus the reality debate, I guess, where they were putting out this perception of Alice as like the traditional wife, but you have to get past that perception. That's what they want you to see. And by they I mean society and people outside of the salons. But when you really look at it, is that actually the reality? And it's like, no, the answer is no.
Right. Right. And there's proof in a way. I mean, it depends on how you read the book, but the autobiography of Alice B. Toklas, when they first published it, Gertrude Stein's name was not on the title page. And it's like her love letter to Alice in some ways. It's a great book.
Oh.
But the point being that she sort of said, you can put it as ventriloquizing, which would be a problem. Like, I am now voicing Alice. That's a problem.
Right.
In the same way that James Joyce in the final chapter of Ulysses, which the lesbians published, of course, right? Shakespeare, that he does ventriloquize and he speaks for Molly. So it almost looks like that. It almost looks like the same kind of ventriloquizing, but I don't think that's the spirit of it.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's
I
so
think it was a love letter, not a ventriloquizing.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we had more. I wish like it's so hard because you're like always constantly being like, oh, I wish we had more from these authors. I wish we had more of their inner thoughts and things. And they're probably sitting wherever they're sitting, being like, I put it all there for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. And I also just think there's just different dynamics at play when it's a gay couple married versus a straight couple married and how the dynamics play out, because you can't say like, okay, that's the wife, that's the husband, this is what they are, right? It's because like, no, it's a wife and a wife. So
Yeah.
what we don't know, again, not having the certainty of what those roles look like and how they can be ever evolving and switching and moving through. And, it's all very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so Margaret, our very pressing question, which Haylie, I swear, she has talked to me my ear off about this. What is this wheel contraption? What is this sex toy? And where did you get it? How is this a real thing? And can you explain it more to us?
So I think if we go back to, before we get to the logistics of it.
Yeah.
So if we go back to, the book is trying to think about the politics of art.
Yeah.
And the politics of sexuality and desire. And that's why the art theft ring is in there. I mean, there's something serious behind all this nonsense, meaning that there was in the modernist period this attempt to separate art and politics, and it's a disastrous thing to do. It's also not true. Art is
Yeah.
political.
Oh,
But
100%.
they really made a concerted, it was like they made a concerted effort to do it because, the First World War had just happened. The Second World War was starting to sort of gear up. And they were just trying to somehow protect themselves and art from this disaster, right? The disaster of this political moment. And this is related to the wheel, meaning that there's one of my professors actually read the book, and he was deeply upset about the wheel because he said you don't. He just thought BDSM was just horrible, and that I didn't understand fascism, that I didn't understand violence and abuse, and of course that's not what it's about. What it's about is subverting power structures,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the serious side of it. It's almost like the Marquis de Sade, who was this disruptive political force, right? It wasn't just about smut.
Right.
So that's why, it's there, because it's an expression of this, the capacity for play in sexuality, because it's a form of play,
Right.
to disrupt power structures.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, she, as poor Henry or Henri, she keeps sort of doing the same thing. I mean, she's attracted to this stuff, but she's afraid of it.
Right.
Same thing
I feel
happens.
like is everybody's toe dipping into BDSM
Yeah.
ever.
So she's like, why am I
Like,
doing
why
this?
do I like this?
Right. She awakens to her own desire.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what it is as a thing, besides all that stuff, all the backdrop, is that it's the reader constructs the wheel, because it's about play and imagination and the boundarylessness of desire.
Yeah, because I feel like Haylie and I, in reading it, had very different
Yeah.
ideas in our head about what was happening.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you were much more definitive about it,
Well,
because you were the one that said they can control the other person's movements, correct?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, I was like, this is like a spider web situation, and there's movement, and to me, I had a clear picture in my head of what was happening, and maybe that's just because I'm like a very literal in my reading, and I think that comes from, again, like my Bible college hermeneutics and literal interpretations and things. Like, what's written on the page is how it is, right? And Haylie's just going, I have no idea how this thing works. Like, we have to ask Margaret, her wanting an answer. So,
well, you say you're literal, but what happened was that your imagination constructed it.
you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. But I felt like you wrote it to where, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I felt like you wrote it and I was putting it in my head.
I think if you and I drew it, it would be very similar.
Okay. Yes.
Because if the one goes like this, the other one
goes like that. Right. Yeah. It's so interesting. But so this
what?
So this is not a real device that we can look up. Okay. Hey, I think Haylie wanted to look it up.
We'll have to draw it for her.
Oh my gosh. We should.
We got to draw it for her.
Okay. This would be so fun. We'll put it on our Instagram. Be like, did they draw? It's like a Pictionary situation.
It's also that, I've been reading a lot of things that are opening up. It's almost, did you read, what's it called? The Miranda July book. What's it called? All Fours?
No.
So it's a great book. I love the book, but it's expanding the parameters of what we think of as erotic.
Ooh, okay.
Because the woman in it has an affair, but they don't really have sex. They do a lot of other stuff.
Other things, but actually classify it. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So that's another thing about the wheel, is that it's really sexy, but they're not touching each other.
Yeah, they never touch.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, but it's still so incredibly erotic what's happening. And you're still, even without touching, you're still getting the feelings that you would normally associate with like body contact, right?
Yeah.
But it's about, like, to me, when it comes to like BDSM, it's about, I mean, this boils it down very, very unnuanced, but like power, control, who has it, who really has it. Because I always think that the submissive one has all the power. You know, very much kind of like Alice Toklas. Like,
Yeah, that's interesting.
you know, to me, I like, because I'm in my nature a little bit more submissive. Like, I still feel like I have all the power.
Yeah.
I say stop, you stop, right? Same with Alice. When she says, no, I don't like this person, Gertrude's like, okay.
Yeah.
Right? To me, I always, and I feel like that's the clever thing about BDSM is it, like you're saying, it flips the power structures. And while you think the person that's like the sadist maybe like has, and again, these are all terms that are very unnuanced right now, right? But the person who is like, let's say not tied up has all the power. In my opinion, the person that is tied up has all the power. That's how I think about it, I guess.
Yeah, that's like a double like subversion. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
now that we've talked all the BDSM.
It's also one last thing. So
Yeah.
Manfred is one of the, sort of BDSM names. And
Right.
it's a capital R romantic name. And it's very Byronic.
Mm-hmm.
And these capital R romantics, it's like Wuthering Heights, and romanticism itself, where it's almost a seldom touching erotics.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine and Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights, they don't get to do it
Right.
after, because that's the erotics of the capital R romanticism is the sexuality of distance,
Mm-hmm.
which I find it very titillating and very interesting.
It is really interesting because it plays on what society defines as sexual relationships and sex. And, again, all these definitions and all these labels that we like to put on things. And then it flips things on its head and being like, no, we had this exact same encounter, but we never touched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like apropos what you said, it takes the penetration is sex argument, and it takes it even further away from that.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it comes from the not capital R romantics in a way, that is the troubadours, right? Because they just were singing, I love you, I love you, I love you, but they're never going to get up there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fascinating. Okay, Haylie has one more question that I'm gonna throw at you, and then yeah, I would love to hear just anything you want to like talk about, please. So I'm just gonna read straight from her notes, and she has such like cursive writing, so please forgive me. Henri makes a really big choice to stand up to Gertrude, who not only holds immense power in the circles Henri frequents socially and for her career, but it also is an idol of hers. Did you know from the beginning of writing this book that she would have to make this brave choice, or did this build up for you in your?
When you say, you and Haylie say standing up to Gertrude, are you talking about it in the art theft thing, or how?
I'm assuming because this is at the beginning of her questions, it's the art theft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's another little part that Haylie talks about a little later, where she says, talk about the tension between Henri and the systems around her as she becomes less willing to comply with doing, in her opinion, the wrong thing. So with the workplace, her social circles, the police, all these things. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, again, it comes back to whether it's the art theft ring or the politics of art, which we talked about before.
Yeah.
And you guys in your episode kind of talked about how she's going to come out of the closet if she can as a journalist when she goes to New York.
Yeah.
And even when she gets to New York and crazed, she still has to hide behind a kind of mask. She is kind of recounting through art queer history, but she has to hide, right? It's encoded.
Right.
So she still does it even when she gets to New York, but it's not as bad. I mean, she's making an effort, and it's more honest. It's more, it's more true to the true nature of, homosexuality's involvement in avant-gardism, which was massive because the sexual experimentation went hand in hand with the artistic experimentation.
Yeah.
So when she stands up, I think that's what's in the wings here when she stands up to Gertrude, because there is this question in the wings, again, the politics of art and the politics of the period, that a bunch of these people ended up on the wrong side of history. So, for example, you probably know Ezra Pound broadcasts on fascist radio in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Eliot wrote anti-Semitic poetry. Yeah. Heidegger, and even Yeats, who I'm like crazy about, they were very attracted to authoritarian, and this is why we're at this 100-year point that you talked about, inflection point.
Yeah.
Paul de Man, the Yale professor and philosopher, critic, I should say, he was on the wrong side of history. Wyndham Lewis, wrong side of history. On the right side of history was Beckett and Joyce and Thomas Mann, for example. Right. But they were outnumbered by these other people. Mm-hmm. And so there's back to Stein, there's a big debate about Gertrude Stein, because a lot of people, there's even a big New Yorker article about it more recently, they thought Stein collaborated with the Vichy government. And they thought that she was, even her art collection, survived the Second World War because she was a collaborator.
Right.
I kind of think that's, speaking of oversimplification, I sort of don't buy it. I mean, I think there's two sides to her, and I think it speaks to the dangers of trying to separate art from politics, and that in this novel, they will do anything to advance their artistic agendas.
Right.
And Henry, that's why she stands up to her, I think. Henry's like, no, I would never do that. Why are you doing that, Gertrude? And Gertrude sort of did. It was like art for art's sake. Mm-hmm. And whatever the casualties were, ethically or politically, be that as it may. And she can't accept that.
How do you feel about that thought process?
I just think art is aggressively political.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I'm responding in part to the modernists because it's so dangerous to separate them.
Yeah, that's my thing. I when I have conversations with people that maybe I don't necessarily agree with politically, they're always saying, sorry, my thoughts are a little jumbled, but oh, it's just politics. And it's like, okay, but we live our life in politics. Politics is every facet of life. You're just so privileged that it doesn't impact you, and you don't see that yet. But I guarantee you there will come a time where it's going to impact you, right? Look at, the flooding in Texas right now. Like, that's politics.
Yeah.
That's politics. They didn't accept aid from Obama or Biden to update their FEMA warnings, to update their systems. And then they did not enact them because they were being petty. That's politics, and it costs lives. Like, that's why I don't understand when people are like, oh, let's just separate these things, because it's not separate.
Right.
And same with art. Like, art is inherently political because everything is political. Just because it's not on CNN doesn't mean it's political, right? Like, the way we dress, the way we present our gender, the people we love, that is all political, because it's all up for debate, and it's all up for law passing. It's all up for judgment to decide who's right, who's wrong, who gets rights and who doesn't. Everything's political.
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes back to the closet thing that you guys said about why she leaves Paris, meaning if Paris is being in the closet in a way, which I think you're right.
Yeah.
And this is the danger now, where I think I'm just restating what you said, that, people want to be insulated from what's happening. And there's a lot of kind of escapism, or there's like, I'm going to move to, Spain or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, you used your, privileged idea. None of us should avail ourselves of that level of privilege, if it even exists.
Right.
And so she rejects that. And it's a very difficult decision, because there will never be, potentially, and I probably never will be, I shouldn't even say potentially, there will never be another time in history that was like these lesbian salons in Paris.
No.
I mean, it is just, right? It's
no, that I wish.
But, that heaven comes at a cost.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting. I absolutely love all your writing, Margaret. What are you working on now? What are you doing? What's up
I'm
with
working on climate stuff now.
Are you
Yeah,
okay? Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we're
I mean,
at
I'm
such
gonna
a
write the next installment, but of Henry's life. But I've gotta finish some climate stuff first.
okay, fair enough. What type of climate things are you working on? Is it fiction? Is it what are
Yeah,
we
fiction. Fiction. I mean, it very sort of. My thing is that, speaking of politics, my thing is that we need to be way more aggressive. And I don't know how far you think aggressive should go, but I think it should be at least eco-terrorist adjacent.
I mean, to be
You
honest with
know,
you, I'm like so far left that I'm basically an anarchist with like very socialist and communist views all rolled
yeah,
together. So I think we would probably align on where to go from here.
yeah,
I mean, it's so interesting actually. There's a reason that the Haitians were the first ones to like, throw off the chains of slavery. And then I saw
yeah.
the Haitians in New York like running ICE and the NYPD like off their streets. And it's like, there's
That's
a reason.
fantastic.
We never got rights from being nonviolent, you know.
Oh, that's such
Even
a great example.
even our most non-violent writers, right? Like people always point to MLK. Like he was not for
Yeah,
nonviolence. Like that's if you actually read his work and not the snippets that you were taught in like your very white American schools, like he was actually much more aggressive than you're thinking. And yeah, I wish we taught actual history and read
yeah.
actual source material because
What do you think has to be done in that, to switch it to the, I mean, we were talking about TERFs and we were talking about the queer community being fractured and about like how we need to get our shit together so we can resist, right?
yeah.
Um, I mean, and that was my interest in our earlier discussion, it was not to defend positions, but rather to
Right.
say we need to get together. Yeah.
Um,
But what do you think that looks like for, because we're in trouble. What does it look like for the queer community? How does that happen?
I think the queer community is not going to be able to do anything on its own. I think we have to team up with, other alliances, other groups. Like we got to bring back the guillotine. We got to do something. Because I'm like so serious, Margaret. I'm ready. Like bring it out. Like line up the building.
Okay.
Um, but yes, the queer community, we are a very powerful force, but we are small and we are fractured.
Who
And
do we team up with?
oh my God, I don't know. I don't know if I can point to a specific group. I mean, I'm very much like a mutual aid person.
Yeah.
And I think when shit does hit the fan, mutual aid is all we're going to have left, which is, going back to like bartering systems and really working just within your own community. But the fabric and has to be there, right? And I think starting at the ground level of mutual aid, it only grows. And I know that there are like incredible mutual aid groups that are national and things like that. Those are who I would want to team up with as the queer community, because I think that's where we're going to do the most good for actual people. Like, yes, we can talk about legislation, we can talk about assassinations, we can talk about like all those high and mighty things. But at the end of the day, like, I want to help people. I want to help my community. And, that can just be from like, I follow a lot of the local immigration groups that are around my
It's
city.
literally just going to say, why don't we team up with the immigrants?
Well, yeah, exactly. They're the ones doing the work. Like,
Yeah.
it's so funny because I work in like caregiving right now, and
Uh-huh.
I take care of this like little frail 87-year-old lady. And
Uh-huh.
we were actually going to be on our way to Camarillo when this all happened. And obviously, like I can't take her there, but it's just so interesting to see. Even my little lady, she's like, why don't they just leave those people alone?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to me, that gives me a lot of like hope of like, even even this generation can see what's happening is wrong,
Yeah.
But yeah, teaming up with non-white groups, I think, is a start, because historically, like, the loudest part of the queer community has been the white part of it, right? For better or for worse. But I think we need to listen to our Hispanic community. We need to listen to our Black community. We need to listen to all of our more marginalized groups, because they've been doing it longer.
Yeah.
They have better end game. They have better guerrilla warfare. Like, they know what to do because they've done it before. And I think and when I say we, I mean like the white, prideful people, we like to think that we have all the answers, but we don't. So to me, teaming up with mutual aid organizations, teaming up with our immigrant population, teaming up with non-white groups that have historically been there before us, right? That, I think, is the best pathway forward. And honestly, like, I am very much a fan of violence, like, when it comes to things like, immigration, deportations. Like, I'm sorry, like, we can't just say, like, hey, please stop kidnapping them. Like, no. But at the end, like, yeah, I have a checkered history with gun control, because I used to be like, no guns. And now I'm kind of like, I might want a gun. Like, but
you never need to perpetrate violence. I mean, let's look at Stonewall.
Just in protection. I am of
and resistance. And resistance. Like if because the violence happens, but we don't have to instigate it.
Yeah, I'm never for instigating violence, but if violence is being done on my community, like, I want to protect it.
Right, and in that regard, if you need the gun to do for the resistance, you have the gun.
Right. Yeah. Am I going to protect it with hugs and kind words? Like, no, that's not going to do shit.
There's I mentioned to you guys, it wasn't on, I don't think we taped it, but I mentioned to you guys this bookstore in New Haven. It's Florence is the next town over. It's called Bookends. It's a lesbian bookstore.
Yeah.
The owner is starting a lesbian gun group. Do you want to be in touch?
Yes, absolutely. So my girlfriend, as you want to get into some interesting information here, but my girlfriend's actually a police officer.
Excellent.
In the LAPD.
Excellent.
Yes. And she's Hispanic. So there's a lot of interesting things that she has to think through. But she took me shooting for the first time.
Yeah. And at the police range.
No. I don't think that's allowed. At a private range. And I was actually like good.
I bet.
I was like, I think I might want one of these just like for fun. But yeah.
You had a handgun or?
Yeah, it was like I think it's called like a Glock.
Glock, yeah.
Okay. Oh, are you like?
I'm from Idaho.
Oh yeah, so okay, never mind. But yeah, she was like, I feel like you're lying to me that you've never shot a gun. I was like, I shot a shotgun. I shot a shotgun once when I was 17 at a range, like a skeet shooting type situation.
Yeah.
But after that, I never touched guns. Like I've always hated guns. Like, it's just not my thing. And she was literally like, are you a secret agent? And I was like, maybe. No, literally, we went to this is just, shooting the shit now, but we went to the movies right after, and I had my targets. There's a police officer that was sitting in the, and we're in Simi Valley, so a different department, sitting in the movie theater parking lot. She like rolls up to him and she was like, hi, excuse me, sir. And you can tell by his patches, he's literally like the lieutenant. He's been on the job for like 30 years. And she goes, would you believe this? I'm going to show you these targets. Would you believe this person?
She knows the guy?
No, she didn't know him.
Okay.
Right? She's like, would you believe this person if they told you they've never shot a gun before? And she showed him the targets and he goes, no, she's pulling a fast one off you. And I was like, I'm so honored. But to me, and maybe this is like my ADHD thing, it's not that hard. It's point and shoot. It's line up. It has the little thingies and it's line that up with where you want to shoot and shoot it. Yeah. To me, I'm like, it's not hard. Yeah. I don't understand why.
I think it's your focus. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my focus. That's what I was saying. I was like, I really just think it's like my hyper focus and like physics.
Yeah.
So, but it was,
people get distracted.
yeah.
Little tiny distraction, and then that's it.
Yeah. And to me, I was like, okay, so all I need to do is keep my breathing very calm, line it up. And she taught me some like techniques of like, you pull the trigger, like you just like let it. So she told me, let it surprise you when you actually pull it, like do it so slow that like let it surprise you. And then after like
you won't jerk it.
Right. And then after the first couple rounds, she was like, okay, let me show you how to like not fully release the trigger so you can shoot faster. And I was like, oh, okay. And then she's behind me and she's like, head, chest, head. And I was like, boom, boom, boom. I was like, this is so much fun, actually. Maybe I do like guns.
I'm putting you in touch with them.
Yeah, I would love that. We would both love that. That sounds like very fun for me.
Are you guys gonna do a book groups ever?
We're hoping so. We are in the planning stages of this. We're not great. We think like 1 or 2 episodes ahead.
Meeting with some of your with your followers.
Yeah.
You're going to do that.
Yeah.
And then discuss the book with them.
Yeah, we would love to. Our followers right now, based on the data that we have, are very spread out, like all over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So navigating that, I feel like we're both just like bad at that part of it.
But are you not going to do it on Zoom?
I didn't even think about that. You know what? I'm going to work on that and I'm going to try and get that going in like the next month. Cause that's actually, I think Haylie was the one that was talking with you maybe about it, or if I'm not remembering correctly, but that's actually a great idea. I do feel like we've talked about this, but I'm like about to start nursing school in September, October area. So I'm trying to figure out time-wise, because like this is my favorite passion project that I've ever done in my life. And yeah, I don't think it has to be a big deal. No, I feel like we could just put it out on like our Instagram and like mention it a couple times and then send out a link.
Well, they would sign up and then they could sign up.
Yeah.
And then let's see, you would have to email them the link.
Right. So I could just have them sign up with their emails.
Yes.
Through Instagram or like our TikTok too. And actually I just found on TikTok that there's this like cute little lesbian couple in LA that host a lesbian book club like at their house. And it's like 10 people, but their TikTok just blew up. So I'm like, I might need to contact them maybe for, some like networking situation.
You know about the new L word, I'm sure you do, the pants thing. So 2 of the L word women are 1 or 2.
Oh, yeah. Alicia Haylie and Shane.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have their podcast. I just feel like we're so small that like we wouldn't even get like a nod. You know what I mean?
Well, but if you have a book club, then they feel invested.
Yeah.
I think it would build up your followers.
I think you're right. I think I'm going to talk to Haylie about that because even if we start with like just a couple people, do it once a month and talk about whatever book we're doing on the podcast. That's okay.
I don't know why you wouldn't get at least, I don't think it's going to be a couple of people.
Really? I'm I feel like I downplay because I don't want to be disappointed. So I'm always like, we'll shoot for like 5 people and then maybe like 10 will show up.
Well, but you can get them, then they bring somebody. I think you can build it.
I think we could too. And I think that would be like,
if you ever want, I would be happy to join you if you ever want to do it with the 3 of us.
Oh, I would absolutely love that, Margaret.
Yeah.
Because you are also like come from like a background of facilitation. So I feel like.
But then we have like, you get the networking and so New York brings these people.
Yeah. You know what? That's going to be my focus. We're going to be going on a break. We have, I think, 1 more book to cover. So we'll have your interview Tuesday. Then we have 1 more book that we're covering, which is Mary Daish's book, Tangled Darkness.
I saw that,
which is very good. It was very good. And then we're going to go on a break. And I think during the break, I'm going to try and get some Zoom meetings up. And then we can even like record those and put those out as podcast episodes as well.
Yeah, and 1 book that you might consider if you want to do historical stuff is that Nightwood book.
That's what I was just writing down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a great one.
And then it's all, it's a way to I mean, there's just so much going on in there, and there's a way with very little kind of work you can set up that you guys have information that the others don't have, and then you just they say all what they say, and then you follow up with little bits of, because you already do that.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't be far off from what we do already. Just a little sit-down chat. Everyone have a glass of wine. We'll do it like 6 p.m. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Margaret, that's great. I'm gonna talk to Haylie about it when she actually is not on a plane.
Great. We'll tell her I hope she's okay after her while.
Okay, Margaret, do you have
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, anything else you want to add, like other than go read your books?
No, we're good. We'll see if there's next steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for always coming on and being willing.
Thank you. I love you guys.
We love talking with you, and I'm so sad Haylie wasn't here, but we're gonna talk again. I'm sure.
It was. I mean, me too, but it was also fun just to talk to you.
Yeah, no, it's super fun to get the one-on-one dynamic.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have Haylie hop. No, I'm not gonna miss you. So I was like, maybe I'll have Haylie do it one-on-one, but no, sorry. But thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
I can't wait to talk to you again.
Great.